morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast. We discuss news and politics. I am your host. My name is Jared. Hope you had a wonderful Halloween. I had to work. It was fine. We have a we have dogs, so it's not because I don't like Halloween. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite. As a kid, my brother and I, we used to see how many houses and how much candy we could get. And then you didn't actually care about the candy after it was done. That was like the whole thing was I was just seeing if I can get more of my brother. And so I'll never forget the best times of my life was when I was like in that 15 to 18 range where you like kind of shouldn't be trick or treating. But my brother was in that like 12 to 15 range where it's still appropriate, right? So then we would just start at opposite ends of a neighborhood and meet up, compare. As you got older, you didn't really care anymore. But yeah, trick or treating was awesome when I was a kid. Obviously, I think a lot of things have changed, and you can think about just the economy, about how less people are going to be want to participate in Halloween. Because you got to remember, a lot of people are like stupid and selfish. It's hard to get people to be just abjectly selfish. And I think that's one of the things that I'll always remember about the holidays is it's an opportunity to be selfless. And I think, barring it being like bad weather and shit, sitting out, telling the kids they look great in their costumes and giving them a little piece of candy ain't a bad way. That's not a bad way to do it. That's all I'm saying. There are much more heinous shit you could do, much more wasteful things you could be doing. So I like to talk about the things that are actually happening to me, right? So if you notice, I try to post a piece of content pretty much every day, sometimes more than one a day if I feel really, really strongly about something. Like, obviously, a judge kind of abated me and said that all um, these cuts and these stoppages of SNAP benefits are basically illegal, and that the president has, like, I think until November 3rd to release these funds. But that just means that people are gonna be hangry for the next couple days. And gosh, it just makes me think that we should just abandon Snap altogether and everybody should just get $500 every Friday instead of giving all our tax money to billionaires. What do you say? But yeah, I had someone comment after I made a video, and again, not only am I right, I'm so right. I'm gonna say it thrice. Okay, so I made a video about how uh, the main Darian on TikTok, um, he made a comment a while back on a live that there can be no great change in the United States until white people feel it. And I've kind of chuckled to myself because knowing white people make up the majority of the population, about 60% of Americans are white, in case you wondered. I went and looked it up. Okay. But I went and looked at the SNAP numbers, like who actually holds these benefits, and it's like 3 to 1 white people. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. In a lot of states, it's even worse. In some counties in the United States, I love to tell you the math because the math should just make your face so red. Ooh, in some whole ass counties think about how hungry this county is about to be. 95% voted for Donald J. Trump. 99% on Snap. A whole ass county in the United States. 95% to vote for Trump, 99% on Snap. Guess what? Super fucking white. So, yeah. And that doesn't do anything for me other than it just it for me it's sort of fulfilling of a prophecy, right? Like a smart person said, like, hey, you got a bunch of white people in the United States and we can't have great change until they're impacted. And I think that this snap fight is not good. It's never good. But what it does is it exposes the underbelly of all these horrible people. And so someone commented that because white people make up 60% of the U.S. population, it makes sense that they get benefits 3 to 1. And I said, let me break it down for you, Barney style. 60% of the U.S. population gets 75% of food stamps. Sh- Does that make sense? And they said, oh, like they realized, oh no, oh yeah. And um, they said, well, then there's a whole bunch of people on it that shouldn't be. And I need to address this. I worked with people, I have helped people apply for food stamps, and to use a term outside of my color of skin, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. So, like, there are some, every now and then you pull a lime and you go to squeeze the lime and nothing comes out of that. That's what Snap is for a lot of people. They get less than 50 in a lot of conversations I've ever had in my life. They get less than $30 a month in food stamps. So if your argument is there are people on it that shouldn't be, my argument is, well, we should just give everybody $500 every Friday. Thanks for playing. And then, of course, there are going to be people that are going to want to police what people do with that money. And I don't fucking think so. I think managing what people have done with their money put us in this fucking financial situation we're in, right? Where 2/3 of households in the United States are living paycheck to paycheck. And it's crazy to me that people that are living paycheck to paycheck want to see other people living paycheck to paycheck have it harder than them. That kind of pains me. That we are all a few paychecks away from needing food stamps. We are not a few paychecks away from being billionaires and being unaffected by this recession. Good morning, Val, Bobby, Debs, Anch, Bob. What up, Bob? Kara, Stacy. Okay, so sorry for not starting off with the news. Okay, okay. Prince Andrew had 40 prostitutes on a taxpayer dime. 40 prostitutes brought to a five-star Thailand hotel room during a 4-day taxpayer funded trip. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Royal historian Andrew Lowney. That's fucking awesome. Reportedly advised against giving Andrew the trade envoy role as he would just chase women and play golf. That is incredible. It's incredible. Some men turn Hey, this is actually pretty funny. Some men turn 40, right? And they start chasing Thai hookers and playing golf, right? I turned 40, had gone back to school, and have now basically been doing this podcast with y'all for a year, and I founded the American Socialist Party. So I'm having a hell of a midlife crisis, right? Yeah, it sounds like the same thing Donnie Diddler does. Yeah, it's just instead of Thai hookers, that you don't know how old they are. You just degraded them as a fucking human being because they're Thai. And so it doesn't also say, oh, they were oh yeah, definitely under 18. They don't care about that when they write about it. I can also say Randy Andy was having a good time back then. Hey, 40 hookers over a 4-day weekend is going to require some help. And I ain't talking about bringing friends along. You know what I'm saying? You're going to need some drugs, some incredible drugs. I don't even know. That's how incredible the drugs would have to be. Ukraine destroys Russia's 400-kilometer military pipeline in covert operation near Moscow. Hell yeah, Ukraine's. Yeah. Just remember, they don't say all of the Thai prostitutes were over 21 or 18 or whatever. That's how you know. Because with Donnie, they were all under 18, right? Ukrainian drones hits Moscow Oblast, and they have a blackout. So Ukraine's doing a damn thing. Okay. Hmm. NATO intercepts third Russian spy plane with transponder off in 3 days. You know shit. Let's share the show real quick before we get rocking and rolling. Remember, as we said, your life can be that of a protest, boycott, and strike. You find out a business donates its money to the GOP, abandon that. You find out they supported the building of this ballroom. Stop shopping with them, stop doing business with them, and that's how your life goes now. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm happy to have a real big reason why other people are doing it, right? Look at this regime and all the fuck shit they do. Um, but yeah, do damage with your wallet. hmm they say the pen is mightier than the sword. Your time, money, and attention, nuclear weapons. So, if a company is willing to support, you know, Andrew Cuomo, for example, versus Zoran Mamdani, or not, that will determine whether or not I like consider you someone I follow and I look to and I want to see succeed, right? Because at this point, if you are engaged in politics at all and you aren't a Republican, why aren't you making pro Mamdani shit? That sounds racist. That seems racist. Share the show. It's going to be an awfully cold winter in Moscow. Yep. JWR is the hashtag. And if you're on Blue Sky, make sure you like send me a message. If you're sharing my stuff and I see what you're sharing and it's good, I'll share it too. I'll help you. You know, it's a scratch my back, I scratch your back type shit. But again, try not to really bargain with my audience for clicks and shit. It's so whack. We got better shit to do, you know what I mean? I'd rather just be talking about the news, but making no attempt to grow or encourage people to like share what we do here is futile. You're not really spreading the word. So I'm sorry. shared it. You can pretty much find me by searching likely alien just about anywhere. I don't really use social media as much as I used to. Uh, Life has a way of changing you, right? All right. Russia has deployed 170,000 troops, which is a lot, in a battle for Pokrovsk, which means that a bunch of them are going to die. Here's my thing. I know. Are you ready for wild shit? If I'm gonna go to war, guess what we're not doing? We ain't talking about shit. Not publicly. I ain't putting nothing out. I ain't telling nobody. You want to fucking fight? Oh, we ain't talking about nothing. I'm gonna do it as covertly as possible. I don't even want it in the news. Nah, I just want people to wake up one day and be like, "Oh, there's world peace. What happened?" I used all of my assets. We had a bunch of special forces that were sitting around kicking tires, saying, "Jared, I'm tired of not fighting the bad guy." Oh, really? That's interesting. I like justified violence. That's what I like. The U.S. has warned people to leave Mali because it's been taken over by Al Qaeda. It's unfortunate that we're dealing with this in the United States and we still have shit like Al Qaeda spreading. Here you go, right here. Pentagon cleared giving Ukraine long-range Tomahawk missiles, leaving final decision to Trump. He's got it. He's got. The thing about this is, if he doesn't manage one of these fights, he will fail to manage any of them, and so he has to do something, and he has to do it. Has to happen fucking yesterday. And if he doesn't do it, here's what's going to end up happening. Other countries are going to give Ukraine their long range missiles, and the United States will be sort of excluded from being counted as one of Ukraine's betters. So obviously, final decision will be the president's. But all right, here we go. Kerala becomes the first state in India to eradicate extreme poverty. The first Indian state without extreme poverty. Let's go. And what do you bet? Socialist as fuck. What do you bet? Let's see if we can find it. How do they combat extreme poverty, you ask? Universal income, hold on. Universal housing, hold on. Hold on. Universal medicine, universal healthcare. So, first, the first Indian state to eradicate poverty. And what did they do? They built people houses. They guaranteed their income. They guaranteed their health care. 64,000 families. hmm Keep in mind, they call all these Asian countries, because motherfuckers are racist. They call these countries communist and shit. And, oh my God, India. And it's like, actually, I mean, they have a self-governing state system, right? And they have a whole state in their country that eradicated extreme poverty. What a novel fucking concept. socialism. Huh, that's weird. You want to win elections? You want people not to fucking starve? Huh. Hmm. Erica Kirk's Romanian charity apparently doing God's work in Ukraine, and I'm saying that fucking sarcastically, as Ukraine has identified 300 children illegally taken to Russia. And again, U.S. poised to strike military targets in Venezuela. Yeah, the thing that I'm opposed to when it comes to you got to understand that socialism is like the parent, and communism is a child of socialism. So communism becomes socialism. Socialism does not become communism, and we have no examples in world history of someone going from socialism to communism. We only have going from some sort of democracy to some sort of authoritarian communist takeover. And like I said, in all of the history that I've looked up, because I'm one of those people. If I'm wrong, let me be wrong. But let me find a historical argument that says like there's an instance of communism that has flown. And the reality is that there is no standing communist. That doesn't exist. You just call it communist. The problem is when you boil down communism into what is it? What is it trying to achieve? A class, and I'm not, keep this in mind. I like to point this shit out. All I'm doing is making sure I'm centered. I'm not reading anything. I'm not, this is off the top of the fucking dome. Okay? I'm not reading anything. Okay? The problem with communism is that the end goal is a classless society where they evenly distribute wealth. And if you just are able to hear those words and try to think, where have you heard this before? Reaganomics, trickle down economics. If you just let all the rich people hold the capital, that the money will trickle down to the poor. And has it ever worked? No. And again, I want to point out there is no historical example of a communist country achieving its goal. Do you see how there's no example of a country going communist and then them equitably distributing resources? Why? You ask. That would be my first question if somebody just told me, hey, they've said they were going to do it. They did violent military coups. They overthrew governments. They've done it hundreds of thousands of times over the course of history. And what have I sat here and told you? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you violently overthrow a fucking government and there is no God before you, what have you done? You have corrupted the power that you hold now because you violently got there instead of by the will of the people. And that's what socialism is. Socialism is says we can't violently overthrow a government or coup. We can't do that. The people have to choose it. That's the chief difference between communism and socialism, is that there aren't instances of a violent overthrow of a government that resulted in socialism. That's never fucking happened. Hmm. Trickle down only works if you pee your pants. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I don't believe that. So as the founder of the American Socialist Party in the United States, I'm not looking towards authoritarianism or communism or a more equitable redistribution of resources. Working working with what you have. and making better suggestions. I don't think we should have such an open market. I think the stock market's a bad idea. I think there's plenty of shit that we do that's all kinds of fucked up, right? I don't think you're gonna stop all of it, but you can make it a lot less important. Hmm. And you could champion things that are important. And what is important, that the population that you manage, that they are fed, housed, educated, and that you are doing something to more equitably redistribute resources. And I'm a fan of universal income. And the thing about it is, it doesn't even matter what I think. Whole ass states have given people like $500 every Friday for 2 years, and what they got on a 2 year investment of less than $50,000 was whole ass households buying houses, getting married, having kids, and getting a college degree. And all of these things are the markers of a successful society. There aren't other things. So it's not how big is your military. That doesn't matter, right? How many police officers do you get? That doesn't matter. How many people are incarcerated? That matters. We in the United States, we incarcerate the highest percentage of our population out of anyone in the world. Hmm. And that's because we have pri- uh, profit-driven prisons, right? So there's obviously like a ton of problems that you have to fix. But when it comes to universal education, income, housing, healthcare, stuff like that, it's getting implemented all over the world. And you're watching it happen in real time. It's just not happening for us because what I've run into is there's too many people that want to see another person suffer, and that fulfills them. That makes them feel good. It's not, I want to feel good, and if I see someone else suffering, I want them not to suffer. It's as as long as someone else is suffering more than I am, I'm good. That's the problem. Is that there are, and you'd be surprised, the nicest fucking people that you'll ever meet in your life uh, want a group of people to starve and die. There's a whole, it's kind of crazy. I frequently say to myself, in fact, don't get to know people. Because when you do, you find out who they hate, and you're like, oh, that's where your bigotry lies. Interesting. And just so you know, frequently it's women. Obviously, racism's like a big thing, but there are a lot of men, a lot of fucking men that are intimidated by women. And it ain't just Donnie Boy. You know what I'm saying? Hmm. But yeah, socialism is the parent, communism is the child. And when you again, and that's just how I feel. And people will call themselves communist, and it's like pie in the sky. You're fucking dreaming. That's not possible. It's also stupid. Trickle down economics doesn't work. Forcing the equitable redistribution of resources will lead to inequality. Hmm. Because then people will just steal from one another. Eric and Laura dressed their children up as money for last night's party. Yeah. Did we post the Venezuela? Yeah, Miami Herald. Yeah, okay. Just like a king. That's fucking crazy. So, and keep in mind when they're buying these news outlets, like Hungary, Viktor Orban's one of Donald Trump's buddies. In Hungary, a pro Orban group has bought out Hungary's most widely read tabloid. So they're either going to turn it into a pro Viktor Orban rag, or they're going to shut it down. Well, this is who we're trying to install in Venezuela. Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Prize winner claims military escalation is the only way to remove Maduro. This process is about saving lives, millions of lives. So, I don't pretend to know what is going on. That's that's it. I don't pretend to know. But as I've stated many times, you cannot violently overthrow a government and expect peace. Now, Trump says he rejected Viktor Orban's request for exemption for sanctions. French Parliament approves far right motion opposing 1968 Franco Algerian Accord. Yeah, I saw a picture yesterday and it could have been fucking doctored, okay? But in my eyes, it was like, oh, this is what happens. Your body doesn't wear this stress very well. So I saw a picture, and again, it could have been doctored, but dream with me. It was two different time frames, top and bottom, and on the top, it was Usha and JD. It looked like around the inauguration time. Their skin was tan. They looked happy, right? And she looked young, little brown woman, right? And then the bottom picture looked pretty recent, and she looked ashy and pale, and her hair was fucking gray, and he looked like shit too. Ukraine spies are doing badass shit. Ukraine spy units blew up Russia's top secret Oreshnik missile launcher. Look at that fucking thing. Holy shit. And hey, I don't know how to say this, but I want to make sure that I do, especially with you all in like a small audience on a Saturday and stuff. Um, when I was going through therapy, um, when I first met my therapist, and I sat with this dude for a few years, he asked me, "Why now?" And I said, I didn't want to go the rest of my life without getting help. And I was only 40 when we started the program. CBT, um, cognitive behavioral therapy. It's for people with PTSD. And he said, "I'm just glad you're doing it now instead of waiting." And I was like, "Wait? Jesus." And he said, "You have to understand the average age of a male in VA therapy is 68." And I said, "Well, by then it's too late. You've lived your whole life." And he said, "Yeah, fuck, by the time you're 65, you're retired. Your life is over. People say they don't live until they retire. That's fucking crazy, right?" Um, the reason I bring it up, where my therapist at the VA said the average age of a man in a program is 68. It just tells you like people will go a long time suffering before they get any help. And they will have their whole lives burned down over and over and over again before they get help. And I feel the same way about my job. I'm in the right chair. I'm doing the right thing. Most of the people I talk to live paycheck to fucking paycheck and ain't missed a payment and their credit shit too. And when I ask them after you pay all your bills how much money you got left over at the end of the month, and they say nothing. And I say you're paying $1,000 a month in interest right now, and that's only going up. We need to reverse this trend. You need to save as much as possible. You need to stop paying interest yesterday. Let us negotiate for like half the balances on these accounts and get you out of debt ASAP. You need to develop cash savings. You never know what's going to happen, right? Do it now. Because I had a client yesterday whose husband died. She's in her 60s, still working a full time fucking job, and she can't declare bankruptcy. She wants to buy a house. Can't stop her. So she has to join our program. But in her 60s, as a widow, she's going to have to get a fucking part time job. Can you imagine being in your fucking 60s, working 75 hours a week, 60, 65, 75 hours a week, just to get out of debt, just so you could buy a house? In your 60s. I don't have the gas for it now. I'm in my 40s. That's just real talk. That's just real talk. So I know you feel like I'm trying to get you to like do business. Nah, I'm trying to get you to avoid these pitfalls. Look at other people's abject failure and just commit it to yourself. I'm not going to let it get to that spot. Because I can't do nothing about none of that. I can't do nothing about none of that. She's paying $1,900 a month in rent. I will be looking to buy too. The cost of living is just too high, right? Sometimes people buy houses to save money on how much they pay to live. And you used to. You know, one of the things that they don't tell you when you're looking for a mortgage, when my wife and I were looking for a house, the reason that we decided to buy is because our rent got increased where we were staying. I think we were paying, I don't remember, she'll correct me, but let's say it was like 700 bucks a month for a house and they wanted to raise it to like 850. And we were like, fuck, 850 is like a house payment. Let's look at the mortgage on my house was 820 when I bought it. But that doesn't include taxes and insurance, which almost double that now. Because along the way COVID happened and I had to put my loan in forbearance. Yeah. So like I said, I don't fault anyone for wanting to own property and I don't care how old you are for it. I know that you can't own property on stolen land and the only thing that you should be doing with land is giving it back. But that's why you like grow a garden and shit and don't care if people comb through it and steal. Now that a lot of the people that I talk to that live in a condo, they aren't paying condo mortgage or condo rent. They're paying mortgage. You know what I mean? Feel like a house is way more expensive. Oh, for sure. I mean, I just told you. We bought a house with a mortgage commensurate with what our rent level was going to be. And then my mortgage payment is like double that because of taxes and insurance. hmm Not actually double, by the way. Yeah. hmm It costs a fuckload of money to be a homeowner. But here's the problem that I had as a renter. Why I'm an advocate for homeownership. Okay? I have had a nightmarish experience as a renter. I've had my furnace go out in the winter. I've had my air go out in the summer. I had the air conditioning unit on the fourth floor of a building. I lived on the first floor. The air conditioner went out and leaked hundreds of gallons of water down 4 floors in the water closet into my apartment and destroyed everything I had. Mhm. So and and still got charged rent, by the way. Couldn't live in the place because of something they did. hmm Also, my wife and I house sat slash rented, and there was a sewage backup. She wasn't in the state. Also, what the fuck was she gonna do? You get it? It sucks being a fucking renter because it's like your life is in someone else's hands. That's why I'm an advocate of being a homeowner. Yeah, it's expensive as fuck and it can be demoralizing and shit. But goddamn, I'd rather be in that position than be fucking cold and no one's answering their phone, or be fucking hot, no one's answering their phone, or having standing water in my fucking living room and them not only not provide me with a solution, but charge me fucking rent. Right? It's different if it's your house, right? Yeah, I would never have bought that house. So one of the things that we did when we bought our house is we asked about the HOA, and our HOA is not enforceable. So I pay it if my wife gets a wild hair up her ass. That's it. hmm Otherwise, I ain't doing it. Nope. Got to get out of there. I wouldn't pay. There ain't a fucking thing an HOA could do for me. Ain't a fucking thing. They're lying out their ass because there ain't that much service that you could fucking provide. hmm That's what I think is a racket. hmm Condos and HOAs and shit. Jesus, Mike. His mom rented. She was poor. The landlord's roof leaked. She got black mold and died and caught cancer. Yeah, no, nah. Like my HOA, they keep lying. Like every year, they say shit like your HOA fee pays for snow removal, and that's not fucking true. So if you're gonna lie, I ain't paying. That simple. And they ain't saying shit. So you don't provide a service you say you do. That's wild work. Israel's military prosecutor admits she leaked the video of soldiers assaulting a Palestinian detainee. So that's so this is how we get into a war? Russia appears to warn the US over pressure against Venezuela. We stand ready to respond appropriately. We support the leadership of Venezuela in defending its national sovereignty. Yo, what? Dub said, "Hi, Taylor." Funding these old dudes' retirement hobbies. Yeah. Well, we found out that what they use the money for is so the old retired men in my neighborhood have something to do. Like plant flowers at our entrance at a sign, and like here's the things they don't do. Good to go. There are two dead trees on the road toward my house. I've had my landscaper take pictures. I guarantee you, when I go to them and I say, hey, there are two dead trees between here and Oak Landon. We need to, as a neighborhood, decide to remove these trees before they fall and damage someone's house or car. I can promise you, won't get done. Promise you. That's why HOAs should be disbanded. Is because the actual problems, they ain't solving. They ain't doing that shit. They ain't paying for it. They ain't getting it done. It ain't happening. Bet me money. Let's see. Jesus fucking Christ. Remember yesterday? Donald Trump, and I just posted it. I just posted this. 24 hours ago, Donald Trump was going to strike Venezuela. 19 hours ago, changed his mind. Just so everyone knows. Here's the UN Human Rights Chief saying the U.S. is killing of those fishermen in those boats violates law, which we knew. Alright, so I think we can switch over. I think this will be the last international story we share here. Ukraine has destroyed about half of Russians' Pantsir missile systems this year. So clearly they were able to. Yeah, the problem is that here's the problem I have with what's going on right now. None of this feels like planned and like coordinated. It feels very chaotic, which again, this is a hallmark of the KGB. Chaos and division. That's what they do. I think you used it right, Dubs, yeah. Ooh. Ooh. Strikes on Russian refineries cut oil output by 90%, bro. They basically shut off Russia's ability to produce oil. I want to float this idea. This is how you know these motherfuckers are dumb. Are you ready? You know how these motherfuckers are dumb? Ukraine has fucking crippled Russia. Let's just say what the fuck it is. Cutting 90% of your fucking oil production? How the fuck are you moving anything? And you're gonna defend Venezuela? How? How you gonna get there and back? You don't have the oil. You do not think this through. And why is that? Because they send these Russians on death missions. Think about this. When I was on active duty in the Marine Corps, when we were planning stuff, we planned egress. Meaning, like, we plan everything up to including the trip home before you do anything. They don't do that shit in Russia. In Russia, they are sending you to your death. And what did we learn recently? What did we learn? Does anyone remember? What did we learn recently? Venezuelan oil, yeah? About Russia. If you retreat, they'll shoot you. So again, they don't plan the whole mission. They just say, go fight, die, you'll have lived. If you retreat, we'll shoot you in the back. If I was a North Korean soldier, I would surrender to Ukraine and send me to South Korea. That's what they've been doing. That's why I asked that yesterday. Like, wait, why are North Korean soldiers that are getting caught in Ukraine fighting for Russia asking to be returned to South Korea? Why? Because they'll be killed if they go back to North Korea. hmm There's a reason. There's a reason I've told you that war is atrocious. Attrition is real. You lose people and you can't replace them. People matter. Every single person matters. I know it sounds like hippie shit, but like all I'm saying is like war is fruitless. You just end up with like a generation of fucked up people. When, I don't. Here's the only thing about Russians that like I'm not empathetic. Russian people are about the only people on earth that I'm not very empathetic toward. Why? They regularly poll their people. Their people, the however many that live in Russia, they fucking hate Americans. So it sucks. It sucks. But until that poll says only one out of every three Russians wants all Americans to fucking die, fuck Russia. I hope they starve and are cold and all kinds of horrible shit happens because as long as they live and breathe and breed, they keep making more of them that want us dead, that put bounties on American soldiers. And I don't feel bad about that at all. Nope. Because I wasn't born and raised to hate Russia. I wasn't taught that way. They are being taught that. That anti-American shit is being taught to them. They're brainwashed. They're just like, and the thing about it, they exported it to the United States. They brought it here. hmm Yep. Yeah. Just how exactly. Just how Israel is okay with what the IDF is doing to Palestinians. Exactly. They are cheerleading it. hmm And now, what happens? What yeah? What happens? Like in Russia, the opinion of the people hasn't changed, but the military is now conscripting, which means they're pulling people off the fucking street and making them join the fucking military and sending them to the front lines. And remember, the countries sending troops to Russia, they're not sending their best. You never notice, you never hear Russian special forces carry out mission destroying critical infrastructure in Ukraine. You notice you never fucking see it. Why do you think that is? Jeopardy music. Why the fuck do you never see why do you never see Russian special forces carry out attack damaging Ukrainian infrastructure? Because they don't take care of their people in the military, they treat them as numbers. So they can't have special forces if everyone's expendable. Can't stand Russians and Cubans. So many Russian mafia in Florida is crazy. Yeah, yeah. Never really had a Cuban crisis or problem with like Cuban people. Never. And when I say that, it's like we neither of us could really spot a Cuban or Russian if we wanted. You know what I mean? Um, one of the things I'll never forget. Tony Hinchcliffe made a derogatory joke. He should have said Puerto Rico, or he should have said Cuba, and he said Puerto Rico instead. And it was very peculiar. Why the fuck did you say that? Like, is Cuba paying you? So, seen lots of protesters against their government in Israel too. Right, and I've seen lots of protests against their government in Russia as well. You know, one of the things, and again, this is one of those things that you should never tell you. They should have never fucking told me. One of the things that they were polling Russians, and not only do Russians like want to see Americans die, they want to see us suffer. Hmm. They delight in that. So it's hard to be friends with somebody that delights in your suffering. And again, attrition is what you have to understand. You do not have unlimited people. Mm-mm. You never know where the bullet will come from. Russian troops carry out torture and executions in their own ranks. Hmm. Lots of protests against the government in the United States. Now, I'd argue um, we are protesting pretty. Ukraine's defense intelligence is working to stabilize Pokrovsk, denies Russian claim that landing group was wiped out. Yeah, it's almost like we put the wrong people in power. Gabby said, my cousin's married to a Cuban. His family's very MAGA. We live in Florida. Still sports DJT. Wild. I hope this administration's policies don't directly impact them. God, we could sit here all day. There's like even more. Tanzanian President Hassan. She won. Yeah, I don't hold a predisposition. Hey, Neptune missiles hit Russian energy hubs in Bryansk and Oriol oblasts. Ukraine discloses a strike that wiped out Russia's $150 million air assets. Hell yeah. And let your life be an act of protest. You know what we don't have enough? We don't have enough socialist music. You know what I'm saying? I cannot believe it is considered to some people offensive to say I don't think that you should die with untreated medical conditions that were denied by your healthcare provider after your doctor recommended that. I don't think that a healthcare company should be allowed to do that at all. I think that the doctor's always right and the healthcare company's always wrong. That's how I think. Because I ain't never met a doctor. I've met all kinds of people from these healthcare companies, and I ain't met a single fucking PhD among them. Not even a fucking relevant master's degree. And I've met a lot of these CEOs because I worked in that healthcare for years. Uh huh. Not a single smart person. I've never met someone that was a CEO that I was blown away with their intelligence. Ain't that a fucking shame? Yeah. Yeah, especially white people. Just remember when we talk about immigrants in this country, white people are the immigrants. So just remember that when we say like they need to get their documentation, they're on some program. Yeah? You're white. You are the immigrant. We are all immigrants or sons of immigrants or daughters or grandkids or great grandkids, it don't matter. $150 million. Yeah, it's fucking insane. I'll put it like this. I'll put it like this. Big fan of war. Big fan of war. Love butt whoopings. Okay? Love me some justified butt whoopings. Love me some justified butt whoopings from the underdog. Okay? Ukraine was supposed to roll over in 90 fucking days. It's been 3 years and they're kicking Russia's ass daily. Hell the fuck yeah. Talk about some actual pride in a country. I'm very proud of Ukraine. This is like this is like they should make a horror film about this story right here cuz this shit makes my skin crawl. Cruise canceled. So they canceled a cruise following the death of a woman left behind on an island. Ugh. Ugh. Like cruises already make me fucking ugh. Ugh. I don't want to be on a boat with a bunch. Let me explain. A lot of people don't realize that they can get seasick until they're on that cruise boat. So imagine people not realizing that they're green until you're trapped on that shit with them for fucking 2 weeks. And then you like make friends with people and you don't see them the whole time because they're fucking hugging the fucking porcelain god because they cannot stand on a boat. Yeah, I was on a boat in the Marine Corps and I'm telling you, there's people that'll get out on the high sea and they're like, "Oh God, this ain't for me." No shit. By the way, your boy loved it, loved it. They're pulling people over in Tennessee and charging them with DUI and they're sober to make quota. Yeah, one of the things I learned a long time ago about lawfare. And imagine knowing this and it not being like usable information. Keep that in mind. I've known this for a long time, Stacy. They estimate like 1 in 4 tickets or citations given by a police officer is fruitless. Like it absolutely is not going to hold up, but they're banking on people just paying it. And because taking a day off work, going to court, defending yourself, or getting somebody to defend you cost. hmm Yeah, so they do it knowing people are just going to pay it. Those they need people to go through them programs, man. Here's the way I think. Here's the way I think. People can't even fucking get drunk anymore. What are you talking about? Like, I need to figure out how to weaponize this. But like, my wife and I, we're trying to get out of debt, right? So we signed up for the debt resolution program that my company offers, and what we noticed right away is an increase in cash flow. We have more money on hand because we're not paying $1,500 a month in interest, right? And my wife and I have kind of started to date again, where we just like go out for dinner because we finally have like the ability to do it financially, and the restaurants are empty. It's just us, and we're going at fucking dinner time. And I started asking my clients lately, when's the last time you went on a date? Just out to dinner or lunch or something. Most people can't afford that, especially if you have kids, right? I was talking to a client yesterday. He has 3 kids, so when they go out to eat, it's five. And he said it costs $100 to eat at KFC. It's $100, $100 for pizza night. See you, Mike. Have a great day. Here's a story about a judge. Uh, right? She was probably a victim. The U.S. government, Snap costs Americans $8 billion a month. And again, I want to point out, I'm not seeing a lot of winning, Don. I know everybody feels there's a reason I'm able to get on here every day and do this show. And that's because this motherfucker has gotten into power and lost. His asshole. And we talked about this yesterday. I want to make sure we talk about it on the show. Here's a gift article from the New York Times. Clearly, who owns the New York Times? I always forget. Is it Bezos? Which billionaire owns the New York Times? Carlos Slim. The Ox Sulzberger family. Never mind. I mean, he's a billionaire, but I ain't never heard his name. Hmm. So, remember we had this conversation a few months ago, and I like to go over the numbers. Okay? In his death records, Jeffrey Epstein's banking information was provided. And in his lifetime, in his only bank account, you heard me, in his only bank account, 4,800 deposits over a lifetime. That's a fucking lot, by the way. Okay? 4,200 of those. So let's do a little math for those of you playing along at home. Okay? If I get 4,800 checks in my lifetime, and 4,200 of those are from the same person, oh, 87.5% of the transactions depositing money into Jeffrey Epstein's bank account for the better part of 20 years came from Donald J. Trump. That New York Times article says there were more than 4,000 transactions out of Jeffrey Epstein's bank account to Russia. So do you have any questions? Because I don't. I don't have any questions. I think these companies are choosing to exist over Donald Trump. That's what I think. The NOAA cancels funding for data collection crucial to tsunami warning systems. Kansas National Guardman indicted after agreeing to photograph Fort Riley helicopters. Yep, traitors among our midst. Hey, what's going on out there? we've talked about this story before, I'm pretty sure. After waiting for more than 4 decades to clear his name in a friend's 1980 killing, yeah, Subramaniam Varam was set to walk free. I don't know if you guys remember this story. Come back up in the news. And I wonder who their CEOs voted for. Tough times for truck and bus makers as new tariffs go into effect. Hmm. Great. Love it. Indy's doing so good. Here's my hometown. Identical twins mix up leads to inmates mistaken release. Fucking bozos that work in law enforcement, bro. I've never met a smart police officer. I take that back. I take that back. I met one. I'm going to tell his story. So, his name was Dominic Harvey. He played running back for Indiana University and was a fucking badass athlete. And he drank himself out of being in the mix at Indiana University. And he ended up in the Marine Corps, Semper Fi. And when I met Dominic Harvey, it was in the winter at a football field that they built when they hosted the Super Bowl here in Indy. It's become like a practice field for semi-pro teams. And we got a whole bunch of kids, and we went out there. There's probably 20 adults out there playing football. And this big, beautiful black man in a fucking police car rolled up on us, and it started fucking snowing so hard outside you could hardly see. And this police officer got out of his car and came over and started throwing ball around, and I noticed he had a EGA tattoo on his arm, so I introduced myself. We said Semper Fi. We hugged it out, thugged it out, and he said, I want to play with you all. And I said, before anybody touches you, you're going to take that belt off and go put it in your car and lock your fucking car and not play football with a loaded weapon on your hip, right? And he looked down and went, "You're right," and ran to his car and took his fucking belt off and took his gun off his belt and came out there and played football with us. And then he joined our team and played the whole season, and he was our tight end slash running back slash fullback. He was super useful. He's a great football player. We won every game. We especially won games he played in. Uh huh. That's the only smart police officer I've ever met in my life. The one that just put his gun down. He quit being a cop after we met, by the way. That's the only smart cop I've ever met. That's a great fucking story, isn't it? Apparently there was flooding in New York City. I don't know anyone still lives there. There were heavy floods yesterday. Yeah, on Thursday, two people died in flooded basements. That's why you don't want to have a basement bedroom. Cause that basement will flood. 39-year-old man found unconscious and unresponsive. Separate incidents. 43-year-old man. It's almost like Mother Nature is like I've been saying shit's gonna get weird. Chuck Schumer walks out of voting for Zoran Mamdani. And that, this kind of shit right here, this shit right here, okay, we got a lot of rain on Thursday. You're 25 miles away, Gab. I'll remember that. You're basically a New Yorker. Chuck Schumer walked out rather than saying if he's voting for Zoran Mamdani. I just want to continue to point out something that a black content creator pointed out to me. Notice Harry Sisson, Good Trouble, uh, Jolly Ginger, they ain't made a fucking single video supporting Zoran Mamdani. It's all about them continuing to get the attention that they get for upholding the Democratic Party. And again, I'd say if they take money from AIPAC, if they take money from Russia, I see them as traitors to the American people. I don't give a fuck about Israel being a fucking defense ally in the Middle East. Pick a better one. You picked a shitty one. And oh, by the way, we built Israel. And our tax dollars keeps Israel afloat. And it's my life mission to see that stop. To see the American people really love Americans and stop loving on the people taking from you. Taking your health care, taking your education. That's what's happening. And remember, the sons and daughters and grandkids of pedophiles. And that's not on the Jewish people. That's on the path home. That is on a program created decades ago that specifically targeted young Jewish men that had been accused of sexual assault and rape and gave them a fresh start in Israel. And now them people have kids. And now them people are elderly and in the fucking government in Israel. And so you wonder why shit's all fucked up and it's a lack of accountability. Whatever the fuck you do in this life, it echoes for an eternity. And if one of them is not be held accountable for the awful shit that you do, you tend to continue to just do awful shit. And here, again, is a member of the Democratic Party being abjectly fucking racist. He's the party's nominee. It is absolutely an unconscionable to not support your party's nominee. I just want to continue to point that out. Kirsten Hildebrand, Chuck Schumer, they're members of the Democratic Party that I won't work well. I won't work well with you. Mm-mm. Here's Harrison Ford saying Donald Trump, the greatest criminal in history. Yep. Mike Johnson on mop up duty. Love it. Love seeing it. After another Trump official tells America, we have failed you. Ooh, a Salon article about how John Roberts betrayed America for Donald Trump. Hell yeah. That makes some of Harrison Ford's movies more watchable. Project 2025's creator calls neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes a friend of Republicans. Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, a balding, redheaded, you motherfucker. Yep, right between the eyes. Lead architect of Project 2025, the blueprint for Trump's second presidency, called an anti-LGBTQ plus anti-Semitic white nationalist commentator Nick Fuentes a friend of Republicans. Fuentes has said that the GOP is run by Jews, atheists, and homosexuals, and has described Adolf Hitler as really fucking cool. And says Jews should be given the death penalty after we take power. Yeah. This is who kids listen to. Movies and documentaries will be lit. Hey, the New Republic asks, why the hell did JD Vance and Erica Kirk hug like that? You know you fucked up, bro, when the tabloids, when the rags are like, fuck's going on with between them two? Remember, everybody's like, oh my god, when Donald Trump dies, JD Vance is so much worse. And it's just like, nah, fam, he's a turd. JD Vance slammed after telling same thing, right wing crowd he hopes his wife will be moved by his Christian faith. What did it say? They're doing it. Yeah. Yeah. GOP's think tank just defended an open Nazi. An open Nazi. Oh, because are you ready? She sees JD Vance as someone she can step over. So now that Charlie Kirk is out of the way, she'll push Usha out of the way. JD Vance and Erica Kirk will do the hold their hands up high thing together. And I'm telling you today, she's the smart one. She's the one doing the stepping on. And then House Speaker Mike Johnson signed a bill cutting $186 billion from SNAP in July. Yeah, she's Mossad. Yeah, millions are losing food stamp benefits. Donald Trump's remodeling a bathroom in the White House. Yeah, I'll never forget that she smiled after her husband was fucking gunned down. She seemed happy, like it was planned. I would be fucking beside myself. Ah, I smell a lawsuit from the neighbors to the White House. What was JD the one guarding her husband's casting? Just asking from a neighbor. Remember, the entire reason Donald Trump is raising these boats is so that he can build a resort after he pushes the fishing communities off that beachfront shoreline. Yeah. Donald Trump thought, this is how dumb these motherfuckers are. Donald Trump thought the Democrats will just cave and give in and sign the big beautiful bill and let us cut health care from all these people rather than take away their food stamps. And again, I think it feels like the Democratic Party has a game plan, and that game plan is shut the fuck up and let them fuck this up. And they will do just that. And again, I'm not saying I agree. I want to make sure I point that out. I have sat here every day and called these motherfuckers out, and that's what I would have done, right? Because I can't sit still and sit on my hands and not say when people die it's their fault, right? Remember, they keep spitting this shit out. Americans blame Republicans for this shutdown. Oh, increasingly. It was a 50-50, and then it was a 60, and now it's a 75-25. The VP plane was used to transport the casket. Erica Kirk and JD Vance are going to try to make the next Hitler. Here's the CNN article about the two federal judges issuing the snap rulings. DOJ lied its way to victory in a key Trump case, just got caught. This could change that outcome. Let's see. Obama's here to rally Democrats in Virginia and New Jersey in the weekend before the election. He called Erica Kirk the moment it happened. Really? So you're saying that he's an opportunist? Marie Antoinette's ballroom. That's funny. You sure they ain't cousins? They do look similar. Yep. Stephen Miller's wife is just as awful as he is, as she threatened Stephen Senk Younger with deportation during their argument. That apple didn't fall far from the tree, huh? Mike Johnson's Christian values. Children starve, pedophiles skate. Beep, 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 beep. Well, the thing about implementing Project 2025 is that it requires you to succeed in some avenue. And, I mean, they cut USAID. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at, did they complete the objective? Yeah, they like tried to do it, but when it got shot the fuck down, they just move on. So people, the thing about it is, people remember I used to say this a lot more often. People pretend they're oppressed, and it's like their hand is in the boot that's on their neck, and it's like, stop. What have they won? What bills have they passed? Because we keep acting like executive orders are laws, and they're not. So, what bills have been passed? That's an example of Project 2025 working. Getting ICE the funding they got it? Okay. Dispatching the military? See, the problem is you got to actually have them do stuff. Like shooty shooty bang bang on Americans for that to be meet what Project 2025's goal is. What I think is the prior administration stocked the courts and made sure that the Democrats had lawyers that can tell them, shh, just let them do their dumb shit. It's illegal. We'll just sue them and stop it before it actually happens. And that's just what's happened over and over and over again. They just keep fucking losing. Now, the problem is that it costs Americans tax dollars. It costs Americans tax dollars to fight frivolous lawsuits. But that's where Donald Trump makes his fucking money. Is these bullshit ass lawsuits. And I just posted an article about how they won, but they lied in court, so they're gonna lose. That shit's gonna keep happening too. hmm Yep. So just make sure that you have a clean perspective on Project 2025 when you talk about what have they accomplished. Dick all. They passed the Lake and Riley Act. They unbanned plastic straws, right? Some shit like that. Eat the rich, check y'all bot, get out of here. Have a great weekend. Like you got to look at, yeah, yeah. If you think, if they're gonna pass laws and shit and actually get stuff accomplished, you got to pass bills. Can't just issue executive orders, and can't come out and just speak at a podium and say I want all the illegals gone. Checkbox Project 2025. No, like they actually has to have something happen, and that's just been the problem with this regime is that they're all talk no mustard. Hmm. All casing no dog. You know what I mean? Never forget to eat the rich. It's only one thing they're very good for. Eat the rich. You're welcome. You a grand slammer, but you know, Babe Ruth. You gotta learn how to relate. Looks like the weather is going to get more intense today. All right. In the northwest part of the United States, I would say western Washington State, up into Canada, and then down into the northwest corner of Oregon. You're going to see some rain today. Not sure what the fucking bright red shit is. I think that's more like mixed rain and snow. There's a stripe of that. What is that state? Wyoming, the big square out west. Uh, Central Wyoming up into central Montana. I got a bit of a thing. And then I see freeze warnings, ice warnings, and moisture in Oklahoma, East Texas, places that don't normally get it. And then, what is that? Southeast Missouri. But it looks like there's a big ass freeze warning. The whole state of Missouri is just cold as a motherfucker. There could be wind, but I think it's cold. And then, let's see. Cold in Atlanta, cold a little bit in the Carolinas, a little bit of moisture, Iowa, Wisconsin, over like Michigan into Michigan. So yeah, a little more activity, but it has a lot more to do with like cold temps. Good to go. A lot more cold than moisture. Oh, and we stopped making pennies. Yeah. Ooh. 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 Thanks for bringing us to. Hey, I'm grateful for y'all. Every day we show up, we go through it together. In my opinion, like I said, from the jump, if I wasn't hosting this show, this is probably what I'd be doing for about this amount of time every day. Is just looking through all the relevant news stories, reading them, trying to figure out. There really aren't that many big time storylines going on. So it's like you're keeping up with several TV shows, kind of, except it's real life, and you're just hoping a bunch of people don't die, right? So first frost this weekend. Hey, I just appreciate y'all. It's a lot easier to have a healthy perspective on stuff when you've got people that'll call you out if you post a questionable article or have a questionable thought. And again, I want to make sure everyone knows, like, I'm not always right. I don't always have the right answer, right? I just know what we're doing, we can't keep doing, and that universal healthcare, education, income, and housing is something that successful places in the world are already doing. So why don't we just do that? Have a great day.